why people say it's good to have an emergency fund is because, I mean, look at life now in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody could have predicted this. A lot of people have lost jobs. A lot of people have been furloughed. A lot of people, are still from the first lockdown, still looking for jobs. So that's why people always say, like, it's good to have 3 to 6 months worth of that money saved so that you know that no matter what happens to your job or to your circumstances, you will reasonably be able to survive. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Oh my gosh, I have not said that. I'm even embarrassed. I have not said that in a few months. I can't lie, it has been too long. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed at how long it's been, but you know what? I'm back. That's the most important thing. I think sometimes it's good to take a little break, recharge yourself and kind of like realign yourself with life. There's just been so much going on, and I just didn't even realize how long it's been since I've actually recorded. I know I've been putting videos out here and there, but they were all recorded like ages ago, so it actually feels good to sit down and actually come and talk to you guys. So yeah, how is everybody? I hope everybody has been good. I hope that now that for those of us in the UK who are back in another lockdown, I hope that everybody is doing good. I hope everybody's mental health is in a good place. I hope people have got things to do to kind of keep them occupied during this time. But anyway, let me even stop babbling after I have the audacity to be gone for long and then I want to come back and be doing story time. But anyway, so in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about emergency funds versus sinking funds. Now, I know like a lot of the time, both of those terms kind of get thrown around and some people are a bit like, what's the difference? Like, and why do I have to have like these two separate pots of money for a rainy day? Because it's sometimes hard enough to just save in general. And then on top of saving, you want me to then come and save an emergency pot. And then on top of that emergency pot, you then want me to come and save another pot of money. Like, where do people think all this money is going to come from? And I know how that feels. So I thought it would be good to come and kind of break down what they both are, what they mean, why it's important to have them, and some like simple steps that you can take to start kind of putting money away for them. So let's start with the difference. So what an emergency fund is. So an emergency fund is typically about 3 to 6 months of savings of what your core bills are. So, like your rent, mortgage, council tax, like gas, electricity, all of those things that you literally have to pay for every month. Like whether you like it or not, these things have to get paid for. Now, why people say it's good to have an emergency fund is because, I mean, look at life now in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody could have predicted this. A lot of people have lost jobs. A lot of people have been furloughed. A lot of people, are still from the first lockdown, still looking for jobs. So that's why people always say, like, it's good to have 3 to 6 months worth of that money saved so that you know that no matter what happens to your job or to your circumstances, you will reasonably be able to survive. You'll be able to pay your bills. You won't be falling behind on bills. You'll be able to buy food. All these things that are like key essential parts of your day-to-day lifestyle, you'll still be able to maintain. So that's what the emergency fund pot is intended for. Now, the sinking fund pot is slightly different. So the sinking fund is more a pot for things that that throughout the year or the coming months, that money is going to have to come out for these things. So that's why sometimes it's good to kind of put that money in a way in advance so that when those things come about, you aren't feeling so, what's the word? Like, oh my gosh, I've got to like budget for this month, or I've got to pull money out for this month, because you would have already put money aside for that. Now, sinking funds, I think these can mean different things to different people. So typically sinking funds are usually for things like Christmas, because like whether you like it or not, Christmas food has to get bought. People who do presents have to get presents, all of that. So that money has to get spent. So as a result of that, people like to put money away ahead of time for that so they don't feel the hit as much. It can also be for things like birthdays. Like for one, I have a friend, shout out to her. She'll know exactly who she is if she watches this video. And I love her to bits. But every year we must go to Mayfair for her birthday. Like, it's a must. Mayfair, it has to be. If it's not Mayfair, then it's got to be something else that's fancy, that's going to cost me no less than £50. at the bare minimum. But we love her still, so we do it, and that's her style. That's what she likes to do. But because I know that, I will always kind of budget ahead close to the time of her birthday and make sure I have money put away, because I know that she's going to celebrate her birthday. It's going to cost probably X amount, and I already know that, so I kind of put that money away in advance for that. So that's essentially kind of like how you differentiate between the two. And also, like, in terms of which one to prioritize, I suppose for me, I would say you kind of have to prioritize both. I mean, there are some things, for example, like birthdays and Christmas, that, you know, if you're out of a job, or if you are not earning as much, or times are hard, of course you're going to make sacrifices, and you're not going to try and start forcing yourself to scrape out money for birthday dinners and stuff if you can't afford to. So one could argue that actually the sinking fund isn't as much of a priority as the emergency fund. And yeah, I would say you 100% should prioritize trying to have some sort of emergency fund, even if it's 1 month. Like, 1 month could make all the difference. That could be 1 month where, instead of like stressing about, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? That's 1 month that you know that is sorted, it's taken care of, and you can focus on, let's say, getting another job. If it's that you're now out of work, you can spend that 1 month focusing solely on job hunting, rather than, oh my gosh, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to keep a roof over my head? So for me, I would say yes, like in terms of saving wise, 100% prioritize the emergency funds. And you can always start off small, so you could do like a small set amount and do it as like a standing order to your savings account every month. Maybe put it in an account that, you know, is not as easily accessible. I spoke about this in my savings video, so if you haven't checked that video out, make sure you do. But it does help having an account that isn't as easily accessible, that you can kind of put money away. And I would definitely say, for the sinking fund, for me, the only reason why I don't prioritize it the same as the emergency fund, let's not get twisted. I definitely prioritize my emergency fund for sure, because for me, that is what is going to keep me afloat. Like, if God forbid something happens to me and my financial situation changes, I know that that money is there to sustain me for X amount of months. But the only reason why I kind of also like low-key prioritize the sinking fund is because I know that there's just certain expenses that I just can't avoid. And yes, I could obviously, if I was ever going through a stressful period financially, I could of course say, okay, cool, no. But I just know that there's certain things that I can't avoid, whether it is birthdays, whether it is Christmas, whether it is, you know, like things that just pop up here and there, holidays as well, like things that I know that are still a part of my lifestyle that I want to kind of still maintain, but I want to make sure that I can afford to, and make sure that I've got money aside for. That's why I personally also prioritize my sinking funds, because what I find as well is that, for example, if I'm having a month like last month, was it last month or the month before? You know, these days all the days just mix into one, so I don't even know. I think it was last month. No. Last month was my birthday month. So it was the month before that. No, it was last month. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so like actually both months. So last month and the month before. So I had a moment in September where I was literally having low-key a bit of a meltdown, you know, just like, you know, when you just have those moments where everything's kind of getting on top of you, and there wasn't even anything specific. It's just, with me, I'm an overthinker naturally. So I start overthinking, and then it all kind of piles on top. And literally like midweek, I was like, I need a spa day. And you guys know I always say I love spas. Like, spas are like my favorite thing. So I was like, I need a spa day, and I need one now. I literally booked the next day off work, booked a spa day, and spent the day, really, really nice day, like pampering myself at the spa, had a nice treatment, spent some time in the jacuzzi and the pool, took myself to a fancy lunch, and I felt great. And the reason why I could do that, like in the middle of the month, because I find like the middle to the end of the month is always when it gets a little bit tight for everyone, obviously. But the reason I could do that was because I had money in my sinking fund that I put there for such situations, like when I want a spa day, or when I'm going for a girly treat with my friends, or if I'm just feeling a bit down and I want to treat myself to something nice. You know, like sometimes retail therapy works. So if I wanted to treat myself to something cute, I know that there's a pot of money I can go and take money out of, as opposed to spending my whatever I've budgeted for that month. And it was just nice to be like, I'm going to spa tomorrow, book the day off, booked the spa, went, did it. Same thing, last month was my birthday month. And the day after my birthday, I spontaneously just decided that I wanted to take myself on like a pamper day, like at a nice hotel with like spa facilities and kind of do what I did the month before. But the only difference is I actually stayed at the hotel as opposed to what I did the month before. And then I took myself to a fancy dinner. Okay, it wasn't that fancy, it was gauchos, but it was nice. Gauchos still can be low-key fancy sometimes. So yeah, I did that. And again, I took money out of my sinking fund to do that. It wasn't something I had budgeted for like that month. I hadn't budgeted that I was gonna like book a hotel and take myself. I hadn't done that. So again, sometimes it is nice just having that sinking fund where it's like just that money where it's not your savings, so you don't feel bad about dipping into your savings because you know your savings is for a particular goal. Let's say it's for your house or whatever you're saving for. And it's not your emergency fund, so you won't feel bad taking it out of that because yeah, you're not taking it out of the money that you're going to be using to sustain you in the event of an emergency. So then you've got that pot of money that's just there that you kind of use for your leisure and for things that pop up. And I personally like that. I like to have that sort of kind of option, if that makes sense. Not that I'm out here wanting to just like go spas all the time. Actually, that's a lie. I low-key do want to go spas all the time. But anyway, just in terms of having that money there, I think is quite important. And there's certain things, like I said, that you just can't avoid, whether it's family birthdays, your partner's birthday, whatever. You just know that, okay, I've got that money there and I can dip into that whenever I need to do X, Y, Z. So that's why I would say like it's important to have both, but I would say 100% prioritize the emergency fund first. In terms of like how to kind of go about saving for either of those things, I would probably recommend having like, Monzo's quite good for this because Monzo's got, this is not sponsored by Monzo by the way, but Monzo have got they've got these like pots, these saving pots that you can open and you can actually lock them. So you can lock them until a certain date. So let's say for example, you're doing a sinking fund for a holiday, or you're doing a sinking fund for a birthday, or you're doing a sinking fund for Christmas. You could actually put the date that you are like able to access it, so you're not actually able to dip into it before that time. And you could do the same thing with your emergency fund as well if that suits you. But I think like my tip would be making it as hard to access as possible, so it's not just an easy swipe of a button, swiping money into your account. That way, you know, you've got that money there that you can rely on for the future, for whatever might pop up. I would 100% say like just make it very hard to access. So whether it's opening an account with a different bank, maybe even 2 different banks, one for your emergency fund, one for your sinking fund, not having the online banking app on your phone, whatever you can do to kind of make it less easy to access and spend willy-nilly, I would 100% recommend that, because that's what I've done. I've got pots and I lock them so I can't access them until a certain time. And I just found that really, really works for me. But yeah, if you don't have like Monzo or any of those other kind of apps, I'm sure there's like other ways you can kind of like move money around so that you're not having to like dip into it all the time. But I would 100% say, especially now that we are in the middle of a pandemic, in a recession, now is definitely the time to start prioritizing your emergency fund. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, okay, but the fact that it is a pandemic and a recession, how the hell am I supposed to save? And I totally get that. But I always say, even if it's £10, £20, your future self will thank you for that. Because that could be £20 that you could put on your gas and electric when you're running low on money. Whatever it is, like just put something away. Start off small with what you can afford. And then as you get back into a place where you're able to put a bit more away, then you can start kind of putting away larger amounts and watching it grow. And honestly, when you watch the savings grow, it gives you a certain fulfillment. And it's almost like a bit of a challenge for yourself. Like every month you add more money on top and you see that money stacking and you're like, yeah. Can I get it to this? Can I get it to that? And then when you pass like your first like £1,000, let's say, you're like, oh, can I get it to 2,000? 5,000, 10,000, 20, like it really, really does make you feel a certain sense of fulfillment that you've done it. And honestly, like I know a lot of people might say it's relative to what you're earning based on how much you can put away. But honestly, I know people who are on a lot less money than me and their savings have surpassed my savings, or like they're at the same level because of the way in which they're able to budget. It might have taken them longer to get there than it did for me. But again, it's all about your mindset and it's all about your attitudes towards money as opposed to how much money you actually have coming in. You could have thousands of pounds coming in every month, but if your kind of budgeting is off, if your money management skills are terrible, if you are a spender more than you're a saver, you will find that you won't be able to save as well as you might like to because of your attitudes towards money. Again, I spoke about this in my video about money management habits that might be holding you back. So again, check that video out if you haven't already. But yeah, I just want to really encourage people to try to prioritize having an emergency fund, even if a sinking fund is kind of out of the question for now. But definitely try and think about ways that you can slowly start putting money away, because none of us could have predicted this year. Even people who are in the most financially stable positions have found themselves almost flat on their face this year based on everything that's happened. So I would really encourage people to start thinking about prioritizing an emergency fund so that you know that, God forbid, if anything happens, I mean, it won't be our portions in Jesus' name, but again, we just don't know. So you just kind of want to be in a place where you say to yourself, okay, cool, no matter what happens, I know that I've got at least 1 to 3 months of my bills and core outgoings covered. I don't have to worry about that. There is no greater feeling, I would say, well, there probably is, but there is like such a great feeling when money isn't something that you've got to stress about on top of everything else that's stressing you out. And that's something that I want to really encourage people to get to. Like, I've been there where money, on top of my life being just a hot mess, I'm also struggling financially. I'm worried about how I'm going to pay my bills, etc. And honestly, like, coming out of that other side and being in a place where money isn't something that I'm stressing about, it's a good feeling. It is. And I don't say that in a boastful way. I say that in an encouraging way, that if I can do it, you can do it. So if you are in a similar situation, honestly, your situation can change, but it really starts with your mind more than it starts with your pocket, is what I always say. So let's think about some good money management habits that we can adopt from today to allow us to, one, financially meet our goals, but also allow us to be in a good position financially should the worst ever happen. But anyway, thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you want me to kind of go in a bit more detail, or maybe you want some breakdowns of figures of how I'm able to save for both, happy to do that. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.